is Anshu Verma. I am a Vice President of Technology at Intuit. What I'll do today is talk about modernization and what we have actually learned. And modernization has very different names. People have talked about decomposition, refactoring, and why do we really think about this as a modernization? And modernization of legacy systems into microservices. How many of you, just like a show of hands, how many of you have tried and done modernization and moved from legacy to microservices and distributed systems architecture? How was your journey? Easy, hard, failed, succeeded? Yeah, and it's really ironic, right? Like this has been talked about in the industry for like last 15, 20 years, but it is still hard. Anybody who tries it actually faces lots of challenges. So that's what I would do. I will not be able to deep dive into all of them. I will actually just talk about a few of those challenges. But let me sort of start with who Intuit is. We are a 40-year-old startup, and that's how we refer to ourselves, and that's the brand that we have in the industry. Primarily because the way we operate, we disrupt ourselves. We are not looking for somebody else to come and disrupt, but it's a internal disruption that we actually focus on. So for example, like we have actually led from DOS to Windows to web, to the era of mobile and cloud, and you can see the growth journey. The growth in terms of the number of employees, in terms of the number of customers, and of course, the best thing is the stock price is also rising, which is always, a good thing for everybody. And right now, we are in the era of artificial intelligence. All of you are probably already hearing about GAI and how it actually changes the world. We have been thinking and working on that for about a couple of years already. So we are in that particular journey, and this sort of slide sort of shows how we keep thinking about disrupting ourselves. We are a very value-driven company, and there is a culture that we really are obsessed about. So you would see for the last 20 years, we have been declared as one of the top 100 best companies to work for by the Fortune magazine. We have multiple awards in India, wherein we are recognized as one of the best companies to work, both from a diversity perspective, data science, and Pride Network, etc. You can see the customer growth from 29 million to 103 million, and of course the stock price. We are a mission-driven company, and our mission is to power prosperity around the world. And technology is core behind this. And what we have is we have a platform at Intuit, which we call as an AI-driven expert platform. And by the way, these words, AI-driven expert platform, are not just for the sake of the word. They actually mean a lot. What this really means is that everything that we build is being AI-ready, and you saw the disruption that we were talking about. So we focus on AI at the core of what we do, and build a platform which is like an expert to our customers so that we can help them along their journey, both for their business life, their financial life, and deliver customer benefits to them while powering prosperity. I'll not go through the numbers, but you can see the scale and the diversity of the customer needs that we solve is humongous. It is like one of the largest out there. And you can sort of, compare it with, let's say, Netflix or a Facebook, though they solve different sets of problems. Our problems are very different. We solve for small business owners, we solve for accountants, we solve for mid-market customers, we solve for consumers, we solve for their taxes, we solve for their business. And look at some of the numbers over here. For example, like from our platform, $2 trillion of invoices are created every year. The number of machine learning and AI-driven experiences that we deliver to our customers is humongous, like 58 billion predictions that we actually generate through our data. Our data is like, petabyte scale. And when we looked at this and when we started to think about disruption, we knew that in the next 3 years, we will scale about 20x. And I don't know how to sort of, show the thing. What you see over here is, and we took a step back about, a year ago and said that, where would we be in 3 years from now? And we said we will probably be growing about 20x. We are growing at about 30% year over year right now. And that's the scale that we're thinking of. Like we'll have more than thousands of services, billions of events flowing in the system, thousands of developers as well as third-party developers. And we knew that we have to take care and think about scale and efficiency, speed to market, and innovation. Because if we don't prepare for it now, the legacy systems will actually block you. And this was not that we faced the challenge and then we started to look at it. We actually pre-planned this, such that we can handle increased customers. The platform that we have, the peak is not about like a particular season. We are a platform that is used across the world, so it's 24/7. Like there is, there's like an Amazon Day sale that actually goes in. Like that particular day we sort of shoot up. Then there is in the US when we have one of those festivals, etc. So we're like 24/7. And we wanted to make sure that we have also acquired, like we have grown organically as well as inorganically. So with success, as they say, success breeds legacy. Tech debt actually occurs. So we wanted to make sure that we can move fast, we can sort of move to open source and standards, and we can deliver innovation at speed to our customers, which is AI at the core, and how do we deliver real-time decision making. So with these set of core challenges, we did try a few things. I'm sure like many people would have tried, and it seems like one big learning that we had was there's a lot of academia about moving from monoliths to microservices, how you do Saga, etc., how you do distributed state management, you do strangler patterns, etc., but they're all theory. And this is a data that is there from vFunction that 79% of the modernization efforts actually fail. We also failed. We tried 3 different approaches. The first one is we said modular monolith. Can we make the monolith better? By the way, full regards to the monolith. I want to make sure that I'm not sort of disrespecting monoliths. They're still paying our salaries in some way. So it is about, can we make the monolith better? That is one approach. The other approach is you have a big cake, you're cutting that down into smaller cakes and sort of distributing. That's another approach. And the third approach is you refactor, you create these choke points, create a new one, and then do migration. We found that there are challenges in all 3 of them. And primarily challenges is that it does not shift or transform what you already have. In each of these, you're basically taking the same thing and putting it in someplace else, or you're making it better. It does not deliver the scale that you want. It does not deliver the transformation that you want. And that was one big learning. We did really try these, but then we quickly pivoted to what we really call as our principles. The first thing we said is that we are going to be modernizing. It is a transformation. It is not a lift and shift, which means that whatever is existing, we will eventually retire. We will build completely new. Think about what does the next 3 year really look like, or the next 5 year really look like, and build for that. The second thing that we said is that business and customer benefit, we are here to deliver for business and for customers. Technology is never for the sake of technology. Technology innovation is to deliver for customer benefits, and that's what we really said. And we completely pivoted our technology plan to be our business plan, so much so that today our business plan is actually influenced by our technology plan. Because now we have opened up so many possibilities for the business that we can actually do many, many things. The last one, which is really close to my heart, is the builder culture. We operate in a very startup-ish mode, and one of the things that all of you and some of you have ever seen, you can't solve complex problems on paper. You have to actually solve them in the code. And as they say, a picture is 1,000 words. A single line of code is equal to 1,000 pictures, is what I really believe. So what we do is we call it 60 days CC. So we actually take a big problem and galvanize our engineers and the leads together, and we actually build it. It's not that we're not doing design. It's not that we are not thinking. We do all of that, but it is proven through the code. And we sort of take those decisions. So these were the things that we know when we started, we failed, and then we sort of learned. And we said, what should our approach really look like? And we said that we will codify everything, which means that we will make it as simple as possible for everybody so that we can scale, and will not limit it to like some pattern or a theory. We'll actually think about coding. So this is what we really did. And somehow I'm not able to show the reds over here, but what you see on the right side, it's a pretty standard picture that you would see, but there is some uniqueness associated with it. First of all, GraphQL, everybody actually knows. So we sort of started with 3 things. One is we will be loosely coupled and event-driven. It is easier said than done. As part of that, we have to really make sure that everything is broken down based on the DDD principles. It is like really, really important that you think about how do you break your system into a futuristic DDD-based principle. Like how many people are aware of DDD here? Awesome. Like a few of you, for the rest who are not aware, DDD is about domain-driven design. So you take and look at your system and think about how would you break them into smaller pieces such that each unit is cohesive. And it is, MISI is the principle. So it should be mutually exclusive, but it should be collectively exhaustive. So you apply those principles. One important thing is when you think about an event-driven system is actually easier said than done because the complexity has suddenly shifted from the code inside the monolith to the space between these services, which means that how do you do inter-service communication and how do you manage the distributed workflow? Because now your data is going across multiple services, and within each of these services, like how do you actually know, let's say that you're doing an order processing and there's a reporting system downstream. How do you know that the reporting system actually got the event that was generated by the order processing system? How do you do that? There is a theory of Saga that is there, but that does not really actually help. So what we have done is we have taken Saga and we have codified CNCF workflow on top of it, which is a serverless workflow. And we sort of stitch this together such that externally you can actually define what the workflow would look like and that particular external process can monitor. And you can actually answer these questions and you can detect errors in the system. You can detect latency, et cetera. You can do all of that. And we actually codified it, made it very, very simple such that any engineer can just like take a few lines of code and they can actually embed it right there. And of course, we onboarded onto the outbox pattern and sort of integrated with that. The other key thing that we did is that so that each of these blue boxes, which I'm calling as domain services, they just focus on their part. We automatically did the integration with all the aggregate systems. So anytime you publish a particular event, it is automatically available for search. It is automatically available for reporting. It is automatically available for audit. It is automatically available for in the data analytics and the data lake, for AI/ML. Nobody has to do anything. That is the vision that we have. And that is very different from what you would actually see traditionally. And we make it very, very simple. So with this, we were able to sort of, scale the, loosely coupled event-driven system. Of course, modern stack, everybody knows, we are as modern as possible. I will sort of, not go into the details of it, but everything is cloud native and lean on managed services. The advantage of managed services is that any code that you don't write is the code that you don't really need to manage. So we have been leaning heavily on managed services. So for example, for Kafka, we lean on AWS's managed services. We actually reuse all of their data stores and we are polyglot. Earlier our systems were more Oracle and SQL Server. Right now, as you would see, we are using Aurora Postgres, we are using Dynamo, we are using Neptune, and we are also leveraging Elasticsearch as we actually see. So based on the different sets of use cases, we have sort of leaned on the polyglot storage. Getting your modern stack and bundling that together is very, very important, so that there's consistency and everybody can sort of move at the same speed. That's the second thing. The third and a very interesting thing that we actually did is, which we actually call as duality. How many of you have heard of Strangler? Yeah. So you know what it says, right? It draws a box here and then it draws a box there and then it keeps shrinking this particular box and it keeps growing that box. Does that really work? Like there are so many challenges over there, and I'll give you a challenge. Now you have, let's say, a new system that you are building in the new one. How would you manage IDs? Right? Like you have an existing system which has an ID. Now you have a new system which is an ID. How do you manage IDs? Because there will be like petabytes of references of existing IDs that will be there. One approach that is there is that, you also create an old ID and new ID. But imagine the interrelationships of the data across the ecosystem. It is actually not a scalable solution. If you're thinking about domain events, you have data sitting in your old, data sitting in your new. How does the downstream actually know which domain event to actually react to? How do you handle that? That's something that Strangler or anything actually does not really talk about. Last but not the least, how do you migrate the data from existing systems to new systems at scale? And we are talking about petabytes of data over here. So these were the challenges that we sort of looked at, and we said that duality is a very important problem to solve in any journey for modernization. Because you have existing customers. It is like what we are really trying to do. We have, let's say that we have Boeing 737, which can take about, let's say, 100 passengers. What we really want to build is an Airbus, and that too while all the passengers are sitting and we have to really change the whole engine while the plane is actually flying with the passengers. That's what you really want to do. Everybody will have to do that. So that is why this duality, wherein we can have the old and new coexist together in a way that our customers don't know. And our development teams and engineers, etc., can start to do the iterative, migration. That has been a key, and I'll actually sort of, talk about some of the things that we have actually done over there in the next few slides. And feel free to, we'll spend 10 minutes for questions and answers as well, but let me just take a sip of water. So for duality, what we really did is we defined 5 stages. That there are 5 stages of duality. The stage 1, and if you really think let's say that there's customers in the existing system and there is customers in the new system. And how do you sort of, manage that? So if we said that the step 1 is a proxy. So what you really do is you take, of course, GraphQL is there on top, which will abstract what you have underneath. And then what you do is you do a proxy. And what we did is instead of everybody doing proxy, we defined an SDK and a pattern for proxy. And the reason why? Because making a call is easy, handling FMEA is hard. What if the monolith is down? What if you actually receive a response, but the network actually gets cut? So we did not want everybody to sort of, worry about the sync and the FMEA, etc. So we wrote a simple, it's actually pretty complex internally, but it is simple to use. There is a sync, capability that we have actually provided. The benefit of this is that you can deliver business value on day 1. How? You can deliver new sets of use cases through the new service while your existing sets of use cases are being served by the existing system without our customers knowing, without the business knowing. And this is really, really important because you will be able to do newer things which you faster and better, which you would not have been able to do in your existing system. So that is the stage 1. Then what we did is in stage 2, so when you have stage 1, you have the new service sort of set up. Stage 2 is when you start to actually take the right traffic in both of these systems as well. That is where we started to rethink how do we do ID management. And I talked about the ID. So what we have done is we have created an ID generation service. It is similar to Snowflake, but not necessarily fully Snowflake because existing systems, you can't really migrate to Snowflake on day 1. So what we have done is we have created this service which actually partitions the IDs across various systems, and everybody can actually use it, and there's no conflict. And with the API on top, you will get a consistent response based on the IDs. And then eventually, as you actually migrate, then you automatically switch over to Snowflake once you're actually done. So that's the other thing that we have done. So which sort of, so of course, in stage 2, you can deliver new API, you can deliver new use cases. We also do dual writes, because there's some part of functionality over here and data can actually change. So the same sync SDK can automatically handle movement of data from one system to the other without anybody really worrying about it. You just plop in the sync service within your system on both these sides and it'll automatically take care of. So if a customer changes on the right side, which is the new one, it automatically will sync with transformation to the left side. And if something changes on the left side, it'll automatically sort of sync to the right side. And then both of them actually deliver events. One thing that people miss is sort of not defining what is the system of truth, what is the system of reference, and what is the system of record. These three are very confusing terms, but it is very important for you when you're thinking about your migration to be able to be very clear about what is the system of record and reference. So what we said is that till the new service has the capability to handle all the use cases, what we have in the monolith is the system of record. That's why you see event dash. And what that really means is that every downstream understands that particular event structure. And inter-service communication can still happen with the event double dash for the newer system, but the downstream will actually listen to that. This is another key step that you should do if you are sort of trying this particular migration. And then you keep on building. I know I'm sort of running out of time as well. And then in this step 3, what we do is we start with the data migration. And as soon as you do data migration, the source of reference actually flips. Now the source of reference is not the monolith, it is the newer service, and you see the monolith sort of becomes like a grayed out. It's only available for fallback and available for downstreams who can sort of incrementally migrate to the new system. And with this, what you have is you have like the whole bare bones of the new system, and you can move like really, really fast. Then in the fourth one, you can start to do the migration. So now you have the data, now you can actually start to do the traffic migration. And by the time you actually reach the stage 5, once the migration is there, you can actually cut the cord. So all of these things, you don't have to sort of muck around your code, do these. All you really need to do is just cut that particular pipe, and you're basically done. So these are the 5 stages that we actually defined from duality, and we have codified this. So this is not theory, this is not on paper, there is code behind each of these. And it's a rinse and repeat pattern, and it can be applied across multiple services at the same time. That's another key difference that we had, is we did not take service by service, because our scale does not allow us to do that. It'll take us like 10 years if we try to do that. So we are doing it workflow by workflow. So creating an order which spans across multiple of these services, we are actually modernizing all of them. And we are following exactly the same pattern. So, and this has worked, really well for us. We are seeing a lot of benefits of this particular approach. Our data size, of course, one of the best ways to modernize is to actually retire existing things. So that's been something that we have done. Our overall DB size of the monolith is 30% smaller now. Our reporting is 40% faster. Our page loads are 60% faster, like huge benefits that we have actually got from a scale perspective. Our speed to market has improved by like 10 to 50x. What we were able to do in months, now we can do in days. What we were doing in weeks, we can actually do in like minutes at this point of time. And of course, innovation, it has unlocked. We were able to deliver benefit wherein our customers are able to get paid, like because we live for our customers, and our customers really want money. And we have been able to improve their get paid by 29%. There is something which we call as a promise to pay off, which is what we promise. Are we delivering that particular benefit? We have improved that by 50%. And our overall automation has increased by 250%. And this is just the beginning. We are in the second year of this particular journey. There's lots more to be done. And we feel pretty bullish about it. One key lesson, and I'll wrap it up, and so that we can have some questions and answers, is that modernization is not about it's not just about technology. It's a shift. It's a mindset shift. And we have to think about and build this particular muscle in a durable manner. Because what we are really doing today, we are building a legacy of tomorrow. Imagine what GAI will do to all of us. It's going to change the way we approach. So modernization gives you velocity, it gives you scale. What has really worked for us is this customer focus, the builder culture, which is really close to my heart, wherein we have taken decisions very, very quickly. We have, we bust all the friction, code wins all the arguments, and we have the pattern that I talked about is in production with 15 services, which are actually interacting with each other and the legacy system, and our customers don't know what's going on, underneath. Of course, we are not done. There are still challenges in front of us. As we were thinking about, we will be 20x scale in about 6 to 12 months, because that's the rapid pace at which we are growing. Now we have pattern, we have to scale that. And how do we take the pattern and make it available to 5x the engineers? Right now, about 400, 500 engineers are using this particular pattern. How do we make it available to 2,000 engineers is what we are working on. Distributed workflows at scale is never easy. It's a hard problem. Please codify it. If you want more, please reach out to us, how we are trying to think about it. We'll, of course, also be sharing it once we have the full code end to end, and we feel very good about it. And lastly, managing duality is very important. If you don't take care of this, many of the modernization projects actually fail because the duality is not handled and not thought about upfront. So with that, I know I gave you a whirlwind tour of what modernization is, what are the challenges, and what are the lessons that we have learned. Thank you, everyone.